Hi, everybody. Happy New Year and welcome back to Howrse. With a new year comes a new update, although thankfully this one is not the major game changer that the trophy update was last year. In fact, the reason why I wanted to do a video on this update was that it's kind of flown under the radar. This update involves more chances of getting unicorns and it really hasn't generated a lot of discussion. There weren't many comments on it on pre-prod when we were testing it. I think there were maybe 25 comments on the topic. There were 2 or 3 comments that I saw in the spoiler topic after it was announced. I just haven't seen a lot of discussion. Most of the feedback in the Devs Corner topic on international would be, I'd say, about 99% positive. So maybe it's just that a lot of people like this update and there's just not much to say because usually we do hear more. If it's a bad update, then we just have to vent about it. So you do tend to hear more of the negative versus the positive. So maybe it's just that this is a great update for most players and that's it. There's just nothing really much to say about it. They like it. So yay, or maybe just a lot of players just don't really care, or somehow it just flew under the radar and people haven't really thought much about it. I don't know. I wanted to talk about it because for me, I am worried about what this might do to horse sales, and we'll talk about that later on when I just kind of discuss the positives and the negatives about this. But first, let's talk about what this update entails, and then I will clarify a few things that are not mentioned in the changelog, but they've been mentioned elsewhere, either on site or on Discord, or just one of them is just based on my assumptions. So, what is this update? It's more chances of getting unicorns. Unicorns are mysterious and precious creatures, and hard to breed. Except not after this update. They're not going to be hard to breed. To increase your chances of getting unicorn foals, we've adjusted the breeding process for all unicorn mares regardless of their species or breed. Although unicorns reproduce similarly to normal horses, here's a reminder of some of the criteria that you need to respect. Breeding is only possible between unicorns of the same breed. You can activate 2 unicorn cover sessions every day. As soon as the session is activated, you have 60 seconds to cover any female unicorn you want. The actual process of covering your mares has not changed. This is just reiterating what we all already know. Nothing's changed here. You can find other details about this topic in the breeder's manual. Previously, the chances of getting a unicorn through a covering was 1 in 5, and that was for each covering. It was a 20% chance per covering, with the exception of VIP players benefiting from a perk that increased their chances of getting a unicorn to 1 in 4 chances, or 1 in 4 chance versus 1 in 5. With the new update, if you're unlucky and don't get a unicorn foal 5 times in a row, your mare's 6th foal will definitely be a unicorn. The system is similar for unicorn donkeys and unicorn draft horses, who, although limited to 3 basic covers, can increase their number thanks to a faints egg. So the big change here is that we now have, I'm going to call this a fail-safe, because you do still have the 20% chance, the 1 in 5 chance, per each covering. Now we have this fail-safe of a guaranteed 1 out of 6 foals will be a unicorn. If your mare foals 5 times, all 5 of those covers result in unicorn fails, your 6th one is definitely a unicorn. That's it. That's the update. Whereas previously you could potentially go 5, 10, 15, 20, 21, 22, what have you, an immortal mare, like 30 covers or something, she could potentially have all fails. Now we have a fail-safe involved. So the first point to clarify is that this applies to an individual mare. It's not out of all of your mares that you're covering that it tracks. It's just per individual mare. Where this is confirmed is if you go to a unicorns page, look towards the bottom, there's this newly added section and it says after the same unicorn mare foals 5 times without giving birth to unicorn foal, the 6th is guaranteed. This just applies to her covers. And okay, she has 5 covers exactly, so this is kind of a easy visual example. Let's say all 5 of her previous covers were fails. That means that her 6th foal is guaranteed to be a unicorn. If she was, say, the 6th mare that I've covered today, and the previous 5 that I've covered, those all resulted in fails, that does not mean that she is guaranteed to have a unicorn foal, unless her own covers result in that. Just because she's the sixth out of five mares, it's only applying to her covers, to those other mares' covers, just individual covers. Sort of like how the 20% chance just applies to each individual cover there. The second point, and this was confirmed on the official horse Discord channel by a Discord admin, is in regards to the VIP perk. The perk that you can choose if you're a VIP, you can choose the increase your chance of breeding a riding unicorn or pony unicorn to 1 in 4. On the horse Discord server, it was confirmed that your fifth foal would be a guaranteed unicorn if the previous 4 were fails. I really wish they would confirm that type of stuff on the actual game, because I don't think we should have to go off site to get that information, but I guess that's a topic for another day. But that is in relation to VIP players with the particular unicorn perk. And I think the last thing, the only other thing that I wanted to clarify was that, and this one is based on my assumption. So far, I have not seen it confirmed anywhere, but I'm pretty sure this is not going to be a retroactive update. So going back to this mare, she's been covered 5 times previously, and actually all 5 of those were fails. Yes. So all 5 of her last covers were fails. That does not mean that her 6th one is a guaranteed unicorn, because all of those covers were prior to this update. So I'm pretty sure this is not retroactive. It's just starting from scratch. So when I cover her today, I'm just going to consider that as cover 1. And there you go. It'll be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever from there. So I think that's it for all of the points on what this update entails. Let's now get into the positives and the negatives of this update. Let's start with the positives, the happy stuff. This is going to be great for unicorn collectors or breeders that are maybe just trying to take a casual stance of increasing the GP on their unicorns. If you're somebody who is trying to complete the collections, you need a breed of every unicorn. If you're trying to put limited or golden apple coats on your unicorns, there's nothing worse than coming up on coat release day and finding out that you have not a single draft unicorn without a coat. So now you need to breed one last minute. You know, that really does suck sometime. I've been in that position myself. So this is great if you're just kind of a collector and you just really don't like going multiple covers of unicorn fails. That does get annoying. However, let's get into the negatives. I do wonder what this will do to the unicorn sale prices. How will this affect those that like to sell unicorns for a profit? And one example of this already is that over the past few years, just basically ever since unicorns were introduced to the game back in it was 2008 maybe. It wasn't the first year of the game, it was a year or two after. But I mean, since then they've slowly plummeted over time, even more so the last few months, and I'll give you a few examples of that as well of my own horse sales. But if we look at sale prices today, they're absolutely terrible. They're just in the dumps. So the cheapest unicorn on international right now is at 18,000 equus. That is very cheap. I think a few weeks ago though, I saw them for 12,000, if I remember that correctly. If I do, I don't know why there were some listed. There were quite a few for 12,000. Thankfully they bounced back, but this is still very cheap. Even though this is a colt, it's a lower GP. This is still a very cheap price for unicorns. 18.9. The whole first page, all of these are under 19,000. You have to go to halfway down the next page, the second page, before you find any that break 19,000. And to put this into perspective, one of the reasons why I disliked the daily objective pass horse system overhaul update so much was some of the objectives involved, specifically the dehorn a unicorn objective. I'm pretty sure I complained about that objective profusely on one of those videos where I was talking about this update. And I think I did go in the sales to look at unicorns, because the reason why I disliked that objective at the time was that it was not worth it. The passes you got out of dehorning a unicorn was not worth what you could have sold it for. You could have sold a unicorn for so much more. I think at the time it was 60,000, 90,000. Why would I dehorn a unicorn when I could get more out of selling it? and now that objective is usually the second objective of the day, and that one costs 20,000 to trade. Why would I trade that objective when I could just go in the sales and buy a unicorn for 2,000 less? And if we want to be generous, because there's only a few that are that cheap, 1,000 less. I'd rather go and buy one. And obviously, if you're somebody who is just totally against the idea of dehorning a unicorn, that's fine. But that doesn't really apply to this in terms of value, because if you're just totally against that idea, then it doesn't matter what price these are or not. So we're just talking about those who are looking at it from a value. Is it worth it for me to dehorn the unicorn? I would say yes, because it costs less to buy one than it does to just trade it. As a rebuttal, though, how much will it affect sales? So a rebuttal here could be this cooldown, okay? Because we do have a 10-hour real life cooldown between breedings. You can only cover her after you've waited 10 hours. So it's not like you could do all these breedings in one day. I think, what would that be? That's 2 covers per day. If you did have to rely on that 1 in 6 failsafe, it'd take you 2-3 days, I think. So, you'd still have to breed twice a day. I don't usually do that. I only breed mine once a day, because 10 hours, I mean, I'm not usually back on again in 10 hours. And, I'm not doing all that. So I wouldn't necessarily benefit from the 2 every 2 days or something. I would not benefit from getting a unicorn foal every 2 days, because I'm not going to be breeding her that often. And for my purposes, I usually just let them age naturally, because for my breeding, I just breed the unicorns to increase the GP on my own for the chosen breed and to get coats on them. But we do have this cooldown to help balance it. However, the other issue that might arise now to unbalance it, or that would negate that, is that I do think we might have more players that will start up unicorn breeding now that it's easier, now that you have this fail safe involved. Whereas before, we did have some players who stated they did not breed unicorns at all unless it was for an objective occasionally. They wouldn't breed them at all because you had so many instances of fails and it was just a pain in the butt to breed them. Or if they did breed them, they would only use a Hesty as gift. But now, if we have a lot more players that are breeding them, that's still going to increase the supply now that you have more breeders. I don't know. You don't know what the fallout of a sale, you don't know what the sales fallout will be until a few months down the line, especially now we're talking about the post Ascent of Olympus introduction. We're talking post Black Friday sales. And this is where I get into my own recent sales experiences with my own personal strategy of selling unicorns to make passes on them. So I mentioned in previous videos that my preferred pass making strategy is to go in the sales, and I will buy, I think it's already, Equus. So I go in the sales and I'll search to find the highest GP horse I can find for a decent price. And I'll only buy for Equus just because then when I sell it for passes, I know that it's pure profit. I don't have to think, well, I bought it for this amount of passes. If I want to make this much, then I have to sell it for this much. I just buy it for Equus. And I usually choose an Appaloosa. That's my chosen breed now. It used to be Knabstruppers, but Appaloosas can be gotten, their public GP is much higher, whereas with the public Knabstrupper unicorn GP, there's a much larger difference between public and what the top is, and that difference is not that large for the Appaloosas, and they're still easy to blup. So I will go in the sales, I will buy an Appaloosa, and then I'll blup it. I don't care if it's a colt or a filly, whatever I can get for the better price, because I can bolt it. I'll blup it. I will definitely put a Hesty as gift on it, and I will also put a fertility wand on it usually if I have some extra, and then a special coat, a companion, the rarest one that I have that I don't have, or that I do have duplicates of. And prior to the last few months, I could sell it for 500 passes easily. I could sell it for more than that if I sat on it for a while, or, if I got lucky with the coat that I had on it and there weren't very many others available or something. It used to not be that difficult, but the last few that I've sold, I had to sell them for about 400. The last one sold like a week or two ago. It went for 410 passes. That was after sitting on it for 2 months. I was decreasing the price, and you do take a risk when you decrease the price because you're canceling it and relisting it. And if somebody has it favorited, it makes it difficult for somebody to keep track of that horse and save up for it if you're constantly canceling and relisting it, because you can't just favorite it then, because then the favorite mark is gone once it's canceled. But I try to let it sit for just a little bit, several days. So if somebody is saving up for it, they have a few days to save up for it. So I had started off high, but I had to keep going down low. And this particular horse, I put a harmony pack on it and I left it unused. And it went through like two I think it finally actually did sell on the second coat release that it was sitting through. So it might have sold coat release day, maybe the day before. I don't know. But for me, 410 passes was not a lot for that particular unicorn. And this does apply to sales overall have been down. So not just unicorns in general, but this particular update does just affect unicorns. Something else that could be a bit concerning for Hestia gift unis, because that's what I put on my mares to try and make them more appealing, saleable, if you will, is that now that you have this 1 in 6 fail safe involved, if you were to keep track of the covers of your unicorn, so I'm keeping track of her, let's say all of these covers have been, after this update today, we know her 6th foal is going to be a unicorn, is what I'm saying. So I know that. I'll go ahead and make the most of this by putting a fertility wand on her. I will definitely breed to a top GP unicorn stallion because, hey, I'm not going to be wasting money or time breeding to it when I know it's going to be a unicorn. And if this were, well, it is quite after, it's January 2nd as I'm recording this. So if I had Isis, I'm a VIP, I can take advantage of my first unicorn mare cover of the month and get more than 2 foals. I think with Isis, it's 3 to 5 foals that you get. And then if you have a fertility wand, then you can have up to 6. So you're really able to take advantage with this update. And I think that there kind of takes some of the incentive out of Hestia gift breeding when you can keep track of that and make the most out of that guaranteed breeding, out of that fail save. So there's kind of another worry I have about how much balance we're going to have with this. I don't know. Now, getting back to the post-ascent of Olympus and the Black Friday sale fallout. The horse sales around Black Friday are always kind of slow, right? Because everybody's spending all of their resources on the Black Friday sales, and those go towards the game, not to other players. Then the other issue is that we have the Ascent of Olympus, and that's just going to be an ongoing problem. I do love the Ascent of Olympus. I just like playing it. I still have a lot of fun playing this like 3 months later or whatever it is. I don't bother saving up my obols just because I enjoy logging in every day. And I probably should have saved up my obols though, because I didn't, just because of everything else that's been going on. Oh, and then we had, of course, the Christmas event, the mazes with that, and with the multiple divines you could get from that. A lot of players were spending their passes on the Christmas event. The divines in the Ascent can be gotten for a very good price. I got 2 in the last round that I started off with under 100 fragments for each, and I managed to get both of them. So 900 fragments probably I got from the Ascent, and that was for about 800 passes total for the 2 of them. I mean, that's a really good price. And one of them was set and the other was a grail that I didn't have. I mean, that was an absolute steal. So a lot of players have been spending their passes on buying obols. So again, I don't know. It'll probably take 2 months before the sales, we get a really good idea of what's going to happen with the sales now that we're outside the Christmas event. We're outside Black Friday. We just have the Ascent to think about and whatever other regular event is going on. And I will say too, one of the upcoming divines, the Firehorse divines that's coming with the next event, he is literally the most beautiful divine I think that will that has been on the game so far. He's absolutely gorgeous. I don't like his perk. I can't remember what it is. Special coat item, or I don't know. Or no, I think he offers a Philosopher's Stone. But regardless, he could have offered an Apollo's Lair, and I'd want him anyway. So, yeah, there's an issue with sales overall, not just with unicorns, but getting back to the topic of this video, I do worry what this increased chance will do to unicorn sales, because right now the prices are already terrible. I would like to do a video soon in the future just talking about my overall opinions regarding the state of the game. So again, how does the ascent affect the horse sales, the game kind of moving more towards collecting as a goal, getting divines, participating in events versus actual breeding and raising of horses. So I'll expand on some of those thoughts in that video. I still want to gather them up and kind of organize them a little bit more. But this one was just talking about the new unicorn update, increased chances, and what might happen to the horse sales. So do let me know your thoughts on this subject. I'm curious to hear them because there's not been a lot of discussion about it in the game. So let me know whether you like it, dislike it, if you're neutral about it, anything else that you think about it. Thank you all so much for joining me today, and I hope to talk to you soon. Bye.